Oh.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Frisco Report with my co-host, Mike. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, brother from another mother?
Biggest news of the week, the defensive coordinator position. We all were calling for it to happen, and it finally went down, Mike. We got Mike Nolan out of here, replaced with Dan Quinn. Mike, so just, real quick, what's your thoughts on the move here for Dan Quinn?
I like it. And a lot of Cowboy fans, respectively, have been, dogging this guy for his head coaching career with the Atlanta Falcons. But, there's coaches, Joe, and everybody watching, there's coaches that really thrive as a coordinator and not so much as a head coach. Jason Garrett being one of them. Rex Ryan, he was a horrible head coach, but a great defensive coordinator. A head coach, that leadership role, it's not for everybody. A lot of pressure. And I think Dan Quinn, who, I really wanted, during this offseason, we all knew Mike Nolan was going to get fired. We talked about the expectation last week. What's the expectation? Is December going to save this guy's job, or is the other 3 months, going to outweigh that? And eventually it outweighed it, and now Dan Quinn's in here. And I think we got to take it easy on him. Let's not give him the anointing oil, as Joe and Bill Parcells says. Let's not get him the anointing oil yet, but let's give this guy a chance. Yes, he had a lot of talent in Seattle. Richard Sherman, Bobby Wagner, Cam Chandler, Earl Thomas. He had a lot of talent over there. But let's see what he can do with this talent. Let's see what they do this offseason. I can't confidently say that this is strictly a 4-3 defense, because he ran 3-4 defenses some in college. He ran some with the Jets in 2010. He's a 3-4, 4-3 mixed guy. But 70% of his recipes 4-3. So I like the move, Joe.
Yeah, I think it's a good move. It's hard to go from Mike Nolan to worse. I mean, I guess you could, but I mean, guys, everybody, shout out to everybody in the chat box that's watching this live around the world. We do appreciate you guys. How do you grade this, everybody? I want to see what the grades are for this. Are you giving this an A+, A, B, C, D, F? Let me know in the chat box what grade you're giving this hire here of Dan Quinn, guys. Let us know what you guys think about the new hire. What you got? Brian
Montez says B. Mario Flores, B for now. We got an A in here. Craig English.
Okay. Got a couple. We got a C+ here from Jared Odell.
Brandon Williams with the A+.
Yeah, so there we go.
I grade it. It's a big question mark. And Todd has a real good point here, because it really is. It's hard to judge this guy when he hasn't called a play yet. But I want to see how this guy handles, guys like Jaylon Smith, and Leighton Vander Esch, who weren't hitting the gaps right. Does Tristan Hill respond to the next defensive line coach? We don't know who that is yet. And to Dan Quinn. Tristan Hill, he was having a breakout year the first 4 weeks before he tore his ACL. He was responding real well. Totally changed our minds on him. So let's see how he adapts to it. There's a lot of moving pieces here. So Todd has a great point with a whole bunch of question marks. So that's exactly what it is.
Yeah. Looks like we're seeing a lot of B's. So I think people are kind of like what I said when I was breaking this news, with everybody else. It's a wait and see. We don't want to fall in that trap of falling for the hype, and then here we are looking like garbage. Obviously COVID had a lot to do with this, but Mike Nolan just didn't have a current resume as far as being a successful coordinator. So he already had that going up against him. You throw in some of these other issues of trying to implement this hybrid system remotely, it wasn't going to work, and it was a big time failure. Now, we're going to talk about a few topics here about Dan Quinn, and we'll finish it out with a little bit of Senior Bowl talk. So, Mike, the biggest question here: does Dan Quinn mean Earl Thomas is back in the discussion? Your favorite conversation? Your favorite topic?
No. The Dallas Cowboys and Earl Thomas ship sailed a long time ago. Guys, let me break this down for you. When the Cowboys were on the clock in 2018, they drafted, in the second round, they drafted Connor Williams. Before the Connor Williams pick, Joe, remind these guys who called Seattle, who had an offer out on the table, and Seattle never took the offer. It was the Dallas Cowboys. He hit free agency that year. He flipped off the bench, hit free agency. Cowboys didn't pursue him. There was no talk of ET with the ship has sailed on the ET stuff. The Cowboys tried to pursue him. It didn't happen. This guy is a lot older now. He's a locker room cancer. He did not get picked up by any team. All right. The ship on Earl Thomas is over. It sank. Let's call it the Titanic.
Yeah. It's going to be an interesting topic here. Obviously, there's always the connections. People wanted to connect Chris Richard and Earl Thomas. That didn't happen. And even this past season, there's still talks of this might happen. There was a lot of rumors going around. So at the end of the day, I don't think this will happen. But I think the Cowboys will have to address the safety position, because in this Dan Quinn, you got to have your safety. You got to have your safety back there, and a roaming safety that can get and cover a lot of ground. So that's going to be paramount for this to be a successful defense. And you got to have the talent, right, Mike? I mean, what we have right now, it doesn't matter who you put a defensive coordinator. This team is still missing a good amount of talent. Wouldn't you say that, Mike?
Yeah, it really is. And this is what the Jerry Joneses brought on themselves, is this talent being laxed. I mean, you look at overthecap.com, they got $62.5 million of cap space invested in defense. Okay. DeMarcus Lawrence is eating up 25 million of that number, right? So math wizards do 25 million minus 62. It's about $40 million outside of DeMarcus Lawrence investing in this defense. They have not invested anything in this defense. Yes, they signed Jaylon Smith, to that long-term deal, which was a team-friendly deal. But other than that, DeMarcus Lawrence is eating up 30% of this defensive cap. And you have no room for star players. Jalen Smith, I'm wearing his jersey just because it's a defensive-themed show. But I wouldn't wear this thing. But because the guy fell off the face of the earth. He did nothing for the Cowboys. Sure, he led things in tackles, but, to me, those are faulty stats. I mean, the guy, when it mattered, never showed up, Joe. Leighton Vander Esch getting the injury-prone tag. You got Jordan Lewis, Xavier Woods, Cheeto Bay-Awuzie hitting free agency. Maybe they sign one of those guys back. You got some hope in Trayvon Diggs. You got some hope that, Grandy Gregory can come back. He's a free agent. There's no promise he's going to be a Dallas Cowboy next year. Alden Smith, he put a little bow on his career when he ran that fumble back for 60 yards. He had a good start of the season and fell off the face of the earth. There's no star quality players, maybe with the exception of Trayvon Diggs, on this defense. And it's going to take a lot to turn this thing around. You got to do better. outside of DeMarcus Lawrence investing in your defense, $40 million ain't going to cut it for your defense. You get in what you put in, Joe.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Let's see, Lavelle. Let's see. Doing great, brother. Appreciate you. Do you think we will bring back former coaches, Mike, or players we would have released now that Quinn is here? So, could you see a scenario where maybe they bring back Chris Richard or one of these other former coaches, or maybe some other players that we have let go, bring them back in here? What do you think about that? It's a good question.
Real quick, I stand corrected. Brendan Williams, Randy Gregory is under contract this year. I do apologize. It's $1.9 million on the cap, so I stand corrected. Bring back former coaches or players we would have released. I think the coaching thing's done. I think they're just going to fill in a defensive-minded coach here for the defensive line. I don't think they'll bring back anything. Former coaches. I don't even know who our defensive line coach is going to be honest with you.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I don't think so either. There's Chris Richard, Jerome Henderson, who's a former DB coach for the Cowboys. He worked with Dan Quinn before as well. So some familiar names, but I think they're going to vet out what they have right now, and it's going to be very important. The secondary, you got to figure out who's gonna lead those men back there. Are you good with Al Harris and Linguist back there? Do they fit his scheme, what they want to do with cover 3, and this sort of thing. So one thing that I do like about this, and where I think you might see some hope, I guess, a lot of this is hope for Jaylon Smith, is I want to see what he does with him, because Mike Nolan came in here and said that he was going to do this and that, and it didn't happen. Now you're going back to a scheme that the Cowboys are more familiar with, and that's when LVE and Jalen Smith really worked really well together. So I'm a little bit, happy about that possibility. But again, it's all on paper right now, guys. So we don't want to fall in the hype machine that a lot of us fell into last season with the name recognitions and these sorts of things. But, these edge rushers coming off the ground with the hand in the dirt, I think that's a good thing. I think that's what they'll be going back to. This is a 4-3 defense with the nickel being your base, formation for the most part. But, I think it's going to bode well. And we just got to see how they implement that. I'm interested on what they do with the assistants. I would love to have Raheem Morris in there. I know he was there with Dan Quinn. Is he able to bring him into the fold? I think that would be a huge, huge win for the secondary if they could get Raheem Morris to come along over here with Dan Quinn. Mike, what do you think about that?
And Raheem Morris is a defensive line coach?
He's assistant coach, took over the interim coach once Dan Quinn, got relieved of duties, but he's a DB guy mostly.
Oh. I like our DB. I like what our DBs did. Our DB coaches did with Trayvon Diggs. Someone brought in here, bring back Chris Richard. I totally disagree. Chris Richard is the one teaching these guys not to turn their heads, and you've seen a lot of that carry over. And Linguist and Al Harris wasn't able to break that habit. Thank goodness for Trayvon Diggs being a rookie with this new coach. I think Chris Richard just coached our, Jordan Lewis, Cheeto Bay, all these guys wrong, and kind of wasted their career. And I don't know if these guys can break the habit of not turning their heads, because we didn't really see much of that this year, even with these two new coaches in. But we saw Trayvon Diggs do it. So I like what our corners did, what our corners coach did with our young corners.
Yeah, guys, let us know in the chat box. Do you want to hold on to the assistants that we have right now, Linguist and Al Harris, or do you want to hang out and bring somebody else in here to coach that secondary? Let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat box what you think about the other defensive assistants on this team right now. Let us know what you guys think about that. Shout out to everybody in the chat box. We do appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys hit like, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell notification as well while you're at it. We do appreciate you very much as we head deep into this offseason. This is a great conversation. And yeah, this is a defensive, really minded conversation that we're having here tonight, Mike. And the next part of this is, what does this mean for Sean Lee's future, Mike? There's conversation that he's going to meet with the family. He's going to figure out if he wants to come back a year. Or do you feel that this is the perfect opportunity for him to move in with the Cowboys? What's your thoughts here on Sean Lee's future?
Man, it's total speculation at this point, because I guess we won't. I early predicted that he'll take a year off and then work into coaching. Right? He has to. To me, he said it. He's addicted to football. So to me, I think he has to take that year off of not being a player, because you seen what Jason Witten did, who has the same passion of football, right? Took a year off in the booth, but was still around football, came out of retirement, and we'll see what happens if he retires this year or not. But I think a year off of football with Sean Lee, just to get away from it, not have anything to do with it, is going to help him transition to a coach even more. Because if he goes straight into coaching, as passionate as he is with football, I don't know if he can get the players 100% of coaching, because he's going to be so eager to put on pads and show them how it's done. You know what I mean? And I think he'll take a year off.
I don't. I think he'll come into this thing ready to rock and roll. Like we said, the addiction is there. I think that he cannot live without football. I think he'll go crazy sitting at home. So I think he will. And, not Mike Nolan, forgive me. Dan Quinn has brought up linebackers in his coaching staff before. Former linebackers were on his staff. So I like that he kind of has a track record for that. And I think this perfect fit for Sean Lee. And I think he can do a great job, especially if we're going to look and add some more young linebackers into this team. I think you want to learn from the best, student of the game. Attention to detail makes you play faster. When you play faster, you make plays. This whole defense, you can be a 4-3 guy, but if you don't know where you're at, you turn into a 4-6, 4-7 guy. And this defense looked too slow this season, Mike. People were always chasing somebody from behind, it seemed like. So let's see what Dan Quinn can do there. I hope he improves the IQ of this defense.
Yeah, I'm hoping he does what Bones Fossil did with our special teams. Yeah, things were ugly, but Bones Fossil totally turned our special teams around. They were dead last in 2019, and they were ranked a lot better here this past season that just happened. And don't give me top 10. Top 10 in your first year, Dan Quinn, would be fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Top 5, well, I'll go that's like hitting the lotto. But if we can go from 32nd and run defense, pass defense, down to 15th, that's huge improvement. In your first year, Dan Quinn, give me that. That's the expectation. Take us from 32nd to 15th. In points per game, take us from 32nd to 12th. You know what I mean? And that's kind of the momentum shift that I'm looking for. I'm not looking to be worst to first. I'm looking for progress. And we saw progress in December from Mike Nolan. We need progress day one, hit the ground running, go from the last of the pack to the middle of the pack. As explosive as our offense is, if they can get the ball back to them, we're going to win 5 more games. We could have been 11-5 this year if our defense played better early on.
Yeah, forcing turnovers was a big thing with Dan Quinn, Legion of Boom. Turning the ball over, forcing turnovers. Punching the ball out. I think like you just mentioned, Mike, they finished the season pretty strong. Turning the ball over. A lot of those victories, we had multiple turnovers, and that really turned the tide in a lot of the close games after the half. We're going to need that in here. Like you said, if we can just be a middle-of-the-road defense going from 32 to, middle of the pack, you're doing good already. Revamping the defense, it's a multi-year thing. So I think you got a good foundation with some young cats in here like Gallimore. I think this guy really is somebody that's going to do really well for the Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs, you mentioned, led the team, man. I mean, he's like your number one DB right now, and we'll see what Bradley and I does for us. What the heck was the deal there with that? So hopefully he gets a shot and can compete for some playing time this upcoming season. But
yeah.
yeah.
I think that's a great point about Reggie Robinson, Bradley, and I.
Yeah.
Maybe in this interview process they talked about these two guys because Dan Quinn was the head coach. He scouted a lot of these same players for the Atlanta Falcons. Maybe he had, Bradley and I or Reggie Robinson high on their board and they just went a different direction. Maybe Dan Quinn, maybe that got brought up in the interview. We had, a 5th round, 4th round pick sitting on the bench. We had a 6th round pick sitting on the bench. How can you develop these guys? Because we can't afford on defense to lose these two guys. Maybe that was part of the interview process too. It's going to be very interesting to see, what Bradley and I's role will be in a Dan Quinn defense and, a Reggie Robinson.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good, defensive class for the Cowboys. And these guys have untapped potential. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that's something to look forward to. You have these guys as some foundational players, but you got to add more. And that's what I want to see the Cowboys do in the draft. I want to see us be aggressive in the draft. Defense, you know what I mean? Best player available, this kind of thing.
Lineman.
Yeah, you probably need to address that. But, man, it's got to be in the trenches. We got to get better there. We got to get a faster, players out there. We just talked about Sean Lee. Let's talk about the jersey that you're wearing there, 54, Mike, and everybody watching. Is this going to be the last chance for Jalen Smith to become an impact player for the Cowboys? If he doesn't turn it around in the eyes of the fans and this kind of thing, do you think there'll be too much pressure, that this might be his last season? What's your thoughts on Jalen Smith here with Dan Quinn now at the helm?
Yeah, so if the Cowboys cut him, right now, they'll save $400,000 on the cap. If they trade him, same amount. This is pre, but if you go to post June, Joe, if they can cut Jalen Smith after June 1st and save $7.2 million on the cap. Okay, I think if he has a bad offseason, Jalen Smith, to me, is one of the biggest crybabies. This guy literally talked about simplifying the defense more. Aldon Smith said it's already simplified. What more can you do to simplify this thing? I think if Jaylon Smith has a bad offseason, we could trade this guy post June 1, recruit some money back, and build around somebody better. Jaylon Smith has to step up and really wrap his arms around Dan Quinn some form or fashion, because this guy could be cut post June 1, and it's nothing to the Cowboys. So it's going to be very interesting to see, how they do that. But Jalen Smith has to step up. I mean, this guy, as soon as he got paid, what he talked about, being an entrepreneur. Sure, you're doing good things for the Dallas community and making minorities, Latino and Black Americans, better by investing and building business. But at the end of the day, you're a football player, and if you're not making plays, you're no good. You're no good.
Yeah, guys, let us know what you guys want to do. As a fan of the Cowboys, do you want to give him another year here with Dan Quinn, or are you ready to cut ties with Jalen Smith? Let us know in the comments, in the chat box, what you want to do with Jalen Smith. And like I said, they're kind of reverting back to a familiar scheme, you know what I mean, with Chris Richard and Dan Quinn. So the success there, I think this is going to be a huge year for the linebackers. They're going to sink or swim. We have LVE. He's entering his 5th year consideration. The Cowboys have until, before the draft or whatever to designate whether or not they're going to bring back Leighton Vander Esch on the 5th year option next season. So, if he has a great season, that'll look like a great move for the Cowboys. $10 million approximate for the 5th year for 2022. So if he does well again, stays healthy, that's the biggest thing with LVE. And then, Jalen Smith, if these two guys can feed off each other like they did 2 seasons ago, I think we'll be okay. But, it's a lot of, speculation and projection right now. So we'll have to see what they do there with those two guys there. But I think it's a very big year for those two linebackers, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, because if Leighton Vander Esch gets injured, NFL Network put out, fifth-year options, and Leighton Vander Esch was a no. I think if he gets hurt again, I don't think you can put that fifth-year option on him. It's just too risky. Jaylon Smith, I give him this offseason, and I think he's going to get traded if he has a bad offseason. If he's very sluggish, Cowboys going to get rid of him. It's a big time thing. That stinks, because Joe Thomas, Justin March, Sean Lee, all these guys were on 1-year deals. You're going to need guys like St. Francis Bernard, stepping up.
The Saint Francis Bernard. So yeah, man, it is. It's going to be a big year for the linebackers. We'll see what they do there with that. You have to think that the Cowboys are probably going to throw a draft pick at a linebacker somewhere in this draft class. And I'm not talking like 5th, 6th, or 7th round. And I feel like this team needs to throw in another pretty solid guy as maybe even a future piece, within the first 3 rounds of a linebacker. You might be able to push that to the 4th, but I think if you want to get somebody that you can really, lean on and that can contribute right away as far as a linebacker, first 3 rounds for me, Mike, I think is where you might have to grab somebody as far as a linebacker goes. Mm-hmm. All right. Potential free agents, now that we know that Dan Quinn is the defensive coordinator, we're probably not looking at, the big 3-4 nose tackles anymore. I think that's probably off the table. But, you would love to bring in a guy like a Dalvin Tomlinson if the Giants don't re-sign him or tag him. I think this guy would be a huge boost to the defense. It would be costly, however, Mike. But you have some noise that might hit the market. And I think, like we said, you have something good here with Donovan Wilson. You got to get the other piece, and the safeties, I think, are the key to this cover 3 defense, right? So, do you want to get somebody like a Marcus May, Marcus Williams, or, do you want to trade for somebody? Do you want to get Justin Simmons? What's your kind of thought here on how the Cowboys might attack free agency now that we know that we're going 4-3 Dan Quinn?
Yeah, I think the Cowboys need to go out there, maybe get them a couple linebackers in free agency just to protect yourself from the draft so you're not reaching there. Dip into some free safeties so you're not reaching in the draft there, and set themselves up to go best player available. I get it. I get why they drafted CeeDee Lamb. All right, but I don't know if you can take that chance. Getting that star offensive player, unless it's the next Tyron Smith on the offensive line, right? If they go offensive line first round in the draft, I get it. You got to replace somebody, but I don't know if you can afford that. You got to set yourself up in this free agency for the draft so you can go BPA on defense, right? Maybe offense, maybe, just maybe, but they it's going to be hard too, because if they sign Dak Prescott to a long-term deal, that's going to help the salary cap. The salary cap ain't budget anywhere. Hell, it might decrease, right? So if they franchise tag him, we're going to be getting the 3rd tier again, and hope, for, a George Selvey or a Jeremy Vincey, someone impactful like that to step up. But You know, the Dak watch, and that's why it's so hard to talk about free agency and to talk about the draft, because Dak watch, what are they going to do with Dak? That's going to help me, number one, build my board. That's going to help me know what we're going to do in free agency. The Dak watch is on, Joe.
Yeah, and maybe this facilitates that a little further now that they know, okay, we're 4-3 team. We're not doing the hybrid crap 3-4 or nothing like that. Maybe this facilitates speeding up these negotiations. You know, I do not want this thing to drag on, and I don't want to pay that $38 million price tag for franchise tag. So, you know, back up what you're saying, Jerry. You say that, and Stephen Jones, both these guys, hey, this is the guy. Andy Dalton, it's Dak's team. It's not yours. And all these other quotes that they put out there. Well, if that's what it is, get this done right now. That way, you know, we can see what we have, you know, free agency, Mike. I think that's a great point, man. We gotta figure that thing out, because if these guys want to go franchise tag, you know, there's not going to be a lot of money available there, you know, to get a premium week 1 free agency type of guy. We're going to be going down the same road again, week 3, week 4, washed up players, Geno Atkins, these kinds of guys. I mean, I don't want that. You know what I mean? We got duped in that last year. It was horrible. This front office really needs to step up this offseason, Mike.
Yeah, they're going to have to. They, like you said, put the money where the mouth is. You know, signing Dan Quinn to a 3-year deal, extending Kellen Moore to a 3-year deal. That's a short window for success. That means they're still all in it. They think the window is 3 years to win a Super Bowl, because you signed Dan Quinn there, you signed Kellen Moore. So the Super Bowl window in Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones' mind is 3 years.
Yeah.
But I don't see, if the pandemic's happening and people don't get vaccines and they can't fill stadiums, the salary cap's going to keep going down. So I don't see how that's a 3-year window, because if the salary cap is declining, it's really going to hurt football teams. It really is. And it's going to be very interesting to see.
I bring up a point as far as the 3-year window, because we know Kellen Moore got extended for 3 years. And coincidentally, you know, we're finding out that Dan Quinn is on a 3-year deal. So, you know, is there a roadmap here as far as a potential, you know, succession as far as the next coaches? You know, the Cowboys have shown that they have done this before. You know, they did it with Wade Phillips and Garrett. You know, speculation that this is already in place here with Kellen Moore. You know, you bring in Dan Quinn. Do you train up Sean Lee? That's what I'm saying. I think Sean Lee comes in here immediately, a linebacker coach, moves up in the game, and here you are in a couple seasons, 4 seasons from now. Kellen Moore, Sean Lee, the general. I mean, wouldn't that be a crazy thing? I mean, that would be something that the Cowboys would do. I mean, it really does seem like something that they would do, you know. So something to keep in mind. I think that's a great point. The 3-year mark. Let's see where these guys are at, but we got to see the improvement. And this NFC East, as bad as it was this year, I think you're going to see improvement by all the teams, probably except for the Eagles. I think those guys are a complete mess right now. But you got to. I mean, Washington's got that monster defense. I think they're a quarterback and another wide receiver away from pretty damn good, to be honest. Ron Rivera runs a tight ship there. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead, Mike.
Did the Redskins sweep us? They swept us, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they swept the crap out of us.
and so, you know, we play you have to build around your division, right?
Yeah.
I think with a healthy Dak Prescott or a healthy quarterback in general, right, that can play to the level of Dak Prescott more. I think it's going to help you, but you got to invest in your offensive line, because how beefy that. Look at what in Week 17 what the Giants did. Look what their defensive line did to us, right? Tyron Smith isn't getting any older. Zach Martin, Lyle Collins, these guys. So you got to invest in your offensive line somewhere, because we're going to keep getting swept. It don't matter how good your offense is or your defense is. That defense in Washington's only going to get better. So you got to build your draft picks around your division too. And if we don't fix that offensive line and we don't fix this defense, you look at what the Giants did to us week 17, and we had the momentum. We had a 3-game winning streak. They had a 3-game losing streak. All right? You look what happened there. The Redskins just swept us. The Eagles, like you said, are going to be trash. If we don't do something now, Joe, we're going to get swallowed up by the Giants and the Redskins. Hands down all day.
Yeah, it's a chess match. You gotta. They're gonna make a move. You gotta make the move. We kind of touched on that last year. And I think for the Cowboys' sake, you gotta invest in that defensive line. You gotta invest in defense. It's been ignored way too much. These guys are doing things that are gonna start pressuring the Cowboys a lot more, and they got some new talent coming in as well. So, I think we're gonna put ourselves in good position. But they got to execute this once the bullets start flying. You know what I mean? That a lot of us fell into the on paper crap and the name recognition and this and that. Like for me, Mike, the thing about our tackles, that was the biggest thing that affected this team. You couldn't get the ball out with Dalton. I mean, he had some good games here and there, but he was under duress. Terrence Steele, even in year 2, he's who knows how he's going to be, but if they go offensive tackle early, it wouldn't surprise me. You know what I mean? So I think that's something that's low key going to be on the radar for the Cowboys. And again, in the opening round, so it could happen. But Mike and everybody out there, let me know what you guys think about this conversation here. Make sure you guys hit like on this video while you're at it. We do appreciate you and everything. Everybody that's out there, we do appreciate you very, very much as we head deep into this offseason. I'm interested to see what they do with the assistants. That could be exciting. So we'll see what we do there. Now, Mike, as far as the draft, we do have the Senior Bowl coming up. And that kind of thing. So let's kind of hit on this here. How does Dan Quinn now affect what the Cowboys do in the draft? What's your gut feeling on what a Dan Quinn defense does for the scouting?
Oh, I think you're going to get those 6'1" corners.
Yeah.
That back to that Chris Richard stuff.
Yep.
I seen a tweet that said, "Well, hell, you should have just kept Chris Richard," and I giggled and I almost agreed with it. I think you're going to get the 6'1" corners. I think you're going to get some beefy, like Michael Bennett type of players for the defensive line. Somebody feisty, someone that has heart. I think Lavelle Gallimore fits perfect in a Dan Quinn scheme. I think you're going to see a lot more of that type of player. Fast, get to the quarterback, nice swim, nice bull rush, there in the interior. I think he drafted Tack McKinley, kind of like a slimmer, almost like Randy Gregory when he first got drafted. That Tack McKinley guy. You're going to see some hybrid defensive ends, I think, with Dan Quinn. I think you're going to see some fast linebackers. Dan Quinn loves fast linebackers, physical linebackers. You look at Bobby Wagner, what he puts together over there with Pete Carroll. I think that's how it changes. I think you're going to get some beefier, some baconators. Let's bring that back for 2021. Mm-hmm. Some baconators in that D line, and you're going to get some pencils. We're not going to get no Orlando Scandrick. We're not going to get that size. We're going to get some tall corners, and Trayvon Diggs fits what Dan Quinn likes, and I think we're going to really love what our defense can be here in a couple of years if they can hit on a lot of these players that they draft.
Yeah, I think you nailed it right on the head with the height requirements here for the Cowboys. It's to Chris Richard and these guys 6 foot and above, 6'1", and for your safeties as well. So, I know a lot of fans will want to talk about like Asante Samuel Jr. and these are legit playmakers, but unfortunately, the way the Cowboys front office, scouting department, and the coaches they have stuck by that mark, pretty well for the. I know Jordan Lewis was below that, but that was before we got in Richard, and now we're going back to that same kind of what is Dan Quinn like out of his corners, and this type of thing. So yeah, I agree, and affecting the quarterback from the middle of the defense. They had a pretty good rotation there, defensive tackles with Seattle, Legion and Boom. So we'll see what Tristan Hill does. Gallimore, I think, is definitely the guy to watch there. They're talking about McCoy maybe coming back. I do not want to lean on that. I want to bring in another here. What could happen with Antoine Woods as well. I think regardless of size, I want another big in there. All right, Mike. So, yeah, bring me another defensive tackle in here, and let's just be ferocious. We need an identity, right? You think about the Buffalo Bills, you think that's defense. Think about the top. Those boys are about defense. You think about the Cowboys, what do you think about? Offense. Nobody talks about the defense on the Cowboys. It's a freaking joke right now, and the Cowboys need to turn that around, get a more complete team, Mike.
You're absolutely right, Joe. You're absolutely right. And what would their identity be? They had 14 takeaways in the December. Can Dan Quinn, bring that in to the start of 2021? I mean, it's going to be tough. These guys, and it's so sad. Okay, they had 23 takeaways. Joe, the last time they even came close to that number was 2014. All right, we're talking about 6 years of just not turning the ball over. We haven't had a double-digit sack guy since when did DeMarcus Ware get that? Or DeMarcus Lawrence get that? 2014.
I don't know. Has he had double digits? Yeah,
it's been a long time.
They gotta get DeMarcus Lawrence up and running to that, because the last 2 seasons he's had 5 point whatever sacks. That ain't gonna cut it. I love DeMarcus Lawrence run defense, but the sacks, we got to get that number up. I agree, Mike. Good point there.
It's let's see. I'm looking at it now here. Sacks. Give me sacks here. He had 10.5 sacks in 2018. So we haven't had that many takeaways since 2014. We haven't had a 10-digit sack leader in 2 years, going on 3. It's time for this defense to make a name for itself, find identity. If you're going to take the ball away, do it with finesse. If you're going to sack, have everybody sack with finesse. Quit this hot boys crap. If you get a sack, you get to wear the chain. How about if you get 20 sacks in a season, then you get to wear the flipping chain? And might buy some hot boy gear. 5.5 sacks ain't gonna freaking do it for me.
Yeah, I do have to admit that they did, kind of.
Yeah, Robert Quinn did have 11.5 sacks last year. I forgot about it. I even met that guy too. I apologize, Robert Quinn.
Yeah, so they lost some production there, but so that'll be something to watch as far as defense. Do they want to add another pass rush? I mean, Lawrence isn't getting any younger. He was drafted in 2014 with, Zach Martin. These guys have been playing in the league for a while now. 2014. That's quite a bit of time now. We're getting close to wasting these guys' talent. So you got to get with it. So interesting to see what they do in the draft. I'm happy about at least knowing what we are. Guys in the comments in the chat box, let us know what do you see the Cowboys' identity right now on defense as?
I'll tell you this though.
They can't stop the run. I think that's one of them, right?
Yeah, they can't stop the run. They couldn't stop a fly from going on a dead fly from going on their food.
Yeah, that's not good identity for defense. Hey, we can run on these guys. Oh, we're playing the Cowboys this week. We're going to run on them with our backups. I mean, that's how I see the defense right now. They got.
Look what the Giants did. The Giants' first 2 drives in Week 17, they only threw the ball twice. They were running it down our flipping throat. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts, they were running it down our flipping throats. I mean, so many teams were like, you know what? We're going to run, play action because these linebackers totally suck, and we're just going to throw the deep ball. Look at the Steelers game. They were throwing deep balls because they knew they could. They failed on like 5 of them, but eventually they started connecting. This team needs it. Wynn has an offensive coordinator said, man, we're playing the Dallas Cowboys. They got a good defense. We got to watch this player. We got to watch that player. We got to protect our quarterback and double team this player. When the hell have they ever said that? Doomsday defense? We're talking about the 70s here, Joe. Come on, get some identity.
Yeah, they got to get that. I get that doomsday 80s and 70s defense. They got to get that if we're going to have any kind of success in here. And like we said, maybe middle of the road. As long as we're seeing some improvement. I think because this offense has the ability to put up some points. So man, if we could just improve that defense, to me that is your number one issue in the offseason. We got our coordinator now. Now let's go ahead and bolster up this defense. Let's bolster that baby up, man. As far as the draft, we got a good question here from Lavelle. Which players from the college football championship could the Cowboys radar, or which players have improved the stock from the championship game yesterday? There's a couple that I liked. Obviously, for me, it was Christian Barmore. I liked him, throughout the year. And, man, he really stepped up in the big game. This is another one of these Bama boys that is really, put himself out there on the forefront as far as, possibly being your DT1 for this NFL draft. I think coming into the draft, into this the end of the season, I think he was probably like a, second to late first round pick. I think with the performance of this game against a pretty good, Ohio State team, I think his draft stock went up. I think it went up a pretty good amount. So, we've seen Deron Payne, Allen, these guys, they've gotten drafted, relatively high. So Christian Barmore, I think, is in a similar kind of category. So that would be a guy that would be awesome for the Cowboys. If you put him in the mix there with Gallimore, you would just have a crazy rotation. And he plays violent, man. This guy is looking to bull rush you. He's got some moves. I love Christian Barmore, man. He's probably my favorite defensive tackles coming into this draft here, Mike.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the other player, Lavelle, that I liked was Browning from Ohio State. I like that linebacker, number 5. I thought he had a solid game. He looks like your prototypical sideline to sideline type of linebacker. Plays the run fits well. Containment, I think he did a relatively good job, containing some of these runs and Mac Jones trying to, to get out and roll out and these kinds of things. So I think he's one to watch. And a good point on Browning, he will be at the Senior Bowl. So keep an eye on him. I think that's a good one, especially if we're talking about, needing to add another linebacker here, because we have so many of these one linebackers. Who do you bring back? You know what I mean? You're probably going to bring back one or two of those guys, possibly. We'll see what Bernard does, but you have to think that they're going to draft another linebacker here at some point. Browning, I think, is a good one to consider, but there's a lot more linebackers out there. Who else from the championship game, guys, that you guys like? Shaun Wade. I know some people. Shaun Wade, the cornerback. I like him more as a slot. I don't like him on the outside. I actually like Jordan Lewis better than Shaun Wade. I mean, Jordan Lewis, showed that he could play on the outside when he was at Michigan. His draft stock kind of fell because of some issues that he had off the field, right? But when I'm thinking about the two players, Shaun Wade, nah, I don't know. I'm not high on him. I'm not too high on him. Patrick Surtain, hell of a he just shuts down his side of the field. He shuts it down, you know what I mean? And I think some people, they'll hear things online, or some of these, major media sites will say, oh, well, he's not so fast and this and that. I'm like, if you're locking up a receiver, you can slow him down by locking him up. That 4.4, 4.3 speed goes away when you have a big physical cornerback like Patrick Surtain, and he's seen them all. You know what I mean? He's gone up against all of them. He will get beat here and there, but I mean, that's a really good one to consider. Would you take him at 10? We'll see. We'll see how he does at the combine. I think that'll be a big one there, Mike. But those guys really stood out to me in the championship game. A game that you watched, Mike, that you liked in that game.
I didn't watch the game. I was supposed to.
What?
I didn't watch it. I didn't watch it. I
no.
Yeah. I can't even tell you the day that it was on.
It was yesterday.
It was yesterday. I don't know what I did yesterday, to be honest with you, but I didn't watch it.
Yeah, no. Well, we'll get on top of that. Shout out, Foots the King in the house there. We appreciate you, Lavelle. Appreciate that question, man. That was great question, bro. I appreciate that, man. Foots the King in here. Yeah, Wade. Yeah, I agree, Foots. Yeah, didn't try Surtain. Yeah, it was a good matchup, in that game. But Alabama was just too much. They were just too much for him. But those guys really stood out to me the most. And obviously, Devontae Smith, the wide receiver, he's going to go really, really early. He's going to go so early.
Refresh your comments.
Let's see what we got here. Soup Trap.
There you go, buddy.
Best Cowboys podcast on YouTube, period. Dallas Cowboys for life. Wow, bro, man, I do appreciate you, man. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in. I always see you in the comments, in the chat box. We do appreciate you very much. Appreciate that. Wow, that's awesome, man. Thank you, brother. That's why we do this, man. I mean, we like to give this content to you guys and open up the conversation. We like to drive the conversation, right? That's really what the Frisco Report is about, driving the conversation, thinking a little bit outside the box here, and keeping you up to date with a lot of, what's coming up here with the Cowboys, staying on top of it. Yeah, Soup Trap, man. Appreciate you. The Money Trap, Stevie Mac. Appreciate you. Sean Wade is Anthony Brown. Yeah, I think he's a little better than Anthony Brown, but I definitely think he's more of a slot guy. If I were to take Sean Wade, I would bring him back inside. Some people are even talking about, could he be a safety? So we'll see if that happens. I think when you start talking about moving cornerbacks to safety, that's a little bit of a red flag to me. It's more like, I don't know. Is this a guy, a jack of all trades, master of none kind of guy? I don't want that. You know what I mean? So, no offense to any Ohio State fans. I do like what they do with their cornerbacks. I think they're, one of the better programs out there for sure. Man, yeah, man. That's great. Appreciate that. Man, thank you for the love out here, guys. We can't do this without you guys. And man, appreciate you. Awesome stuff, bro. What else you got, Mike?
Sean Wade, 6'1". Yeah, I'm looking at his size. He's 6'1", 195 pounds. I think if you put him on Amari Cooper's just going to eat his lunch. I think I need to know his 40. I don't know his 40, but see how if I'm looking at CD Lamb, how does CD Lamb and this guy match up? But I need to get his 40 for that. But I'm sure he's fast as hell. With he don't have a lot of weight. I bet he's a track star. But I see slot all day just with that size.
Yeah, no, I think he's a slot guy. April Showers, appreciate you, April. Sertan, Farley Slater at 10.
I think Joe's froze out. I think Joe froze out, guys. But I'll hold it down till Joe comes back. Hope you guys are enjoying the show. We're at 58 likes. Let's see if we can get to 65, guys. Can we get to 65 likes right here while Joe is frozen out? But what did you guys think? Yeah, Joe's stuck at the moment. Yeah, Mike, Detailed Podcast, he said weight isn't big enough, and he just isn't, guys. I seen his weight there at 195. The guy just isn't big enough for NFL. You know, Cesar Sanchez says Wade Phillips smaller than 6'1". I'm just going off what I've seen on his stats. Let's see here. Farley, he wants Farley. I don't know if Farley will be there at 10. It's going to be real close to see. 10 is too high for Slater, absolutely. 100 likes so we can get Joe unfrozen, LOL. Hey, I like that, Stevie Mac 23. I do. I like that a lot. I don't know if Joe's going to come back. This is weird. I'm live here on his channel, right? But 100%, guys, Joe said it best. We couldn't do it without you guys. Doing this show every Tuesday for you. I get excited. You want to see an hour go by, or you got an hour to kill. Definitely watch the Frisco Report right here, guys. Welcome back, Joe. I was holding down the fort for you.
Appreciate all you guys, man. You guys are funny, man. I can't do this without you guys, man. You guys crack me up. I see those in here. Yeah, if we can get the 100 up there, I'd be appreciative. Stevie Mac, appreciate you, bro. I always see you in the chat box. Who do we pick at number 10? Cesar Sanchez. Yeah, that's going to be the discussion. Like I said, fifth-year option is a little bit more as far as your top 10 picks. Do the Cowboys take that into consideration? You know what I mean? Do they want to stay there? Do they want to move out a little bit and accumulate another pick or two? I think this is a great draft to actually get more in your top 50. You know what I mean? To be honest, if you can get some more second or thirds, I think you're in business, man. I would love that. Depending on who's there at 10, make a move there. Cowboys in the last couple of have stuck there. They've kind of stayed where they're at. So do they change it up a little bit? We'll see. We'll see what they do there.
To be determined.
To be determined, indeed. We will be hitting up the Senior Bowl next week. Mike and I are going to hit up a little bit of a sneak peek of which guys to watch. There's some good safeties in here that will interest you. Richie Grant, Gillespie, Hosma, Nasruddin is another one. These guys are in the Senior Bowl. So there's some safeties. There's some defensive tackles, Marvin Wilson. Offensive tackles, there's some good ones in here as well. So, guys, we're going to hit up the Senior Bowl coverage here next week. And Mike and I are talking about doing some mock drafts coming up as well. We'll try to knock that out here live with you guys over the next couple of weeks. And, it's just going to continue hone in on what the Cowboys are going to do this offseason. But, man, we do appreciate you, Mike. Do you have anything before we cut out this evening?
No. Thank you, guys, for watching. _ Cowboys Corner on Twitter. Joe has it right underneath me. Cowboys Corner right here on YouTube, guys. Thank you, guys. Soup Trap, that $100 donation. Couldn't do it without you guys. And we don't even do it for the donations. We do it, number one, for the love of the Dallas Cowboys, and number two, to hang and talk with you guys. I've seen and heard a lot of Dallas Cowboy podcasts, and not one of them includes their fans like the way Joe does it. You guys are well part of the show, just as me and Joe are.
Absolutely. Well said, Mike. Man, appreciate Soup Trap again. Appreciate you, man. Much love to everybody that supports the channel. Everybody that watches live, that's showing support. Everybody talking in the chat box, that's support. So we see the love, and we do appreciate you. And let's get this ride going, man. It's gonna be a great offseason for the Cowboys and the discussion here with you guys. But that's it for tonight. We'll catch you for the next episode, guys. Peace out, everybody.